And three, two, one. All right, and we are back. And today we're back with something that is a special gift for you guys because you guys hit the like goal. Yay! Throw in the special effects, throw in the sounds editor, which is me. But yeah, guys, this is the video that I said I would do. If you guys hit the like goal for the last video, you guys definitely hit the like goal for the last video, and I'm super excited. So, this is Ready to Harvest is the name of the channel. He was working with useful charts, and I said, I gotta watch this video for you guys. Hit the like goal. What do Christians and Orthodox? What do Catholics and Orthodox think of each other? This is like, the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Christian Church there. You know, what do they think about each other? I want to know. This seems interesting. And if you guys want to know what I think about all of this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Get my full opinions on all of this stuff because you know what? I'm not like the most I go to church everyday person. I don't like literally sit down and just like every day I'm reading the Bible on my off time. But I am a very, I like to say I'm very spiritual. I like learning about stuff like this. If anyone is out there thinking that they're getting something useful from it, then I'm happy that you're watching. But yeah, guys, also, if you don't do this, YouTube will come in here and they will. What do Catholics and Orthodox think of each other? Let's go.
Of a multi-part collaboration with Useful Charts, Matt is making a series of videos that gives a detailed family tree of Christian denominations. Today, he releases a video on Catholics and Orthodox, so make sure to check that out. What do Catholics and Orthodox think of each other? There can be differences with how the churches officially view each other and how individual Catholics or Orthodox view the other side's churches. There are Catholics with a very positive view of the Orthodox Church and others with a negative view, and the same goes the other way. It would be a mistake to say that opinions are uniform. By the way, I know there's also controversy over the terminology. In this video, when I say Orthodox, I'm only referring to what is sometimes known as the Eastern Orthodox Church, not including Oriental Orthodox or any other group not in communion. Catholics are sometimes known as Roman Catholics. I'm just going to say Orthodox and Catholic in this video. Also, I will be quoting a variety of Orthodox and Catholic sources, but they do not generally speak on behalf of their entire tradition. What we'll talk about in this video will give you some of the perspectives present, but certainly not all of them. Another thing to mention is that we'll be discussing how these two traditions view each other. Both sides will likely have things to dispute about how they're represented by the other. With those clarifications, let's begin by looking at how Catholics view Orthodox, and then we'll look at how Orthodox view Catholics. First, let's look at a couple historical statements and then move to the present. Thomas Aquinas, a 13th century Catholic philosopher and theologian, wrote in a book called Against the Errors of the Greeks, "To be subject to the Roman pontiff is necessary for salvation. For Cyril says in his Thesaurus, 'Therefore, brethren, if we imitate Christ so as to hear his voice remaining in the church of Peter, and so as not be puffed up by the wind of pride, lest perhaps because of our quarreling the wily serpent drive us from paradise as once he did Eve.'" And Maximus, in the letter addressed to the Orientals, says, "The church united and established upon the rock of Peter's confession we call, according to the decree of the Savior, the universal church, wherein we must remain for the salvation of our souls, and wherein loyal to his faith and confession we must obey him." At the time of Aquinas' writing, what he said would not have been particularly unusual, and this position of Catholics toward Orthodox can be found in documents spanning centuries. This is one way people have viewed the Catholic doctrine of extra ecclesiam nulla salus, meaning outside of the church is no salvation.
Oh, okay.
Pope Eugene IV
I'm really happy he clarified that because I was going to say, wait, I have to know how to speak Latin just to watch this video. I thought I was going to have to learn another language. I'm sorry.
Century later issued a papal bull that said, "The most holy Roman Church firmly believes, professes, and preaches that none of those existing outside the Catholic Church, not only pagans, but also Jews and heretics and schismatics, can have a share in life eternal, but that they will go into the eternal fire which was prepared for the devil and his angels, unless before death they are joined with her, and that so important is the unity of this ecclesiastical body, that only those remaining within this unity can profit by the sacraments of the church unto salvation, and they alone can receive an eternal recompense for their fasts, their almsgivings, their other works of Christian piety, and the duties of a Christian soldier. No one, let his almsgiving be as great as it may, no one, even if he pour out his blood for the name of Christ, can be saved unless he remain within the bosom and the unity of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church teaches that someone can receive salvation from the Church without being a member of it. The belief that a person must actually be a member in the Catholic Church to be saved is limited today mostly to a subset of traditionalist Catholics and sedevacantists. And to be very clear, the Catholic Church views her position as compatible with the statement of Pope Eugene IV above. A set of traditionalists within Catholicism today take these kinds of statements from history to mean that a person must be a member of the Catholic Church to be saved, but this is not the position of the Catholic Church itself, which states that it always has been possible for people outside the membership of the Church to receive salvation, though that salvation is provided to them by the Church. As the Sacred Congregation of the Holy...
So I just want to clarify this, and if anybody in my comments or watching this video want to correct me here. So what they're saying is you can go to heaven without being a member of the church, but you can't go to heaven if you don't even go up and ask the church for help. Like you can be a good person without the church, but in order to get to heaven, even if you aren't like a member of the church, you still need to be like going to the church or like involved. Like the church has to be there somewhere. Like you can't just go to heaven and like avoid the Catholic Church altogether is what they're saying. Like you have to either be a member and then do all the good stuff, or do all the good stuff and then also like have like gone to it one or two times. I just want to clarify this. Maybe I'm just wrong here, but it kind of sounds like he's saying at the end of the day, you have to at least visit the church. You don't got to be a member, but at least talk to the pastor, talk to the what do you guys call it, pastor, or do you call it like a preacher, or is it just like uh, I don't know all the phrases for the, within the rankings of a Christian church here, guys.
Office said in 1949, among those things which the Church has always preached and will never cease to preach is contained also that infallible statement by which we are taught that there is no salvation outside the Church. However, this dogma must be understood in that sense in which the Church herself understands it. For it was not to private judgments that our Savior gave for explanation those things that are contained in the deposit of faith, but to the teaching authority of the Church. John Carroll, the first bishop and archbishop in the United States who lived in the 1700s and 1800s, said, to be in the communion of the Catholic Church and to be a member of the Church are two different things. They are in the communion of profession of her faith and participation of her sacraments through the ministry and government of her lawful pastors. The members of the Catholic Church are all those who with a sincere heart seek the true religion and are in unfeigned disposition to embrace the truth wherever they find it. It never was our doctrine that salvation can be obtained only by the former. As this relates to the Orthodox, many within the Catholic Church today see them as the closest group to themselves that's not in communion with the Pope. Pope Francis said in 2017, Catholics and Orthodox, by professing together the dogmas of the first 7 ecumenical councils, by believing in the efficacy of the Eucharist and the other sacraments, and by preserving the apostolic succession of the ministry of bishops, experience already a profound closeness with one another. In 1965, the Pope of the Catholic Church and the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople of the Orthodox Church lifted excommunications that had been made in the 11th century that are considered part of the East-West Schism. This move was seen very positively from the Catholic side, though there were many on the Orthodox side who were unhappy with it. In 2007, the Catholic Church's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith noted that the Catholic...
I'll be honest, that seemed like a pretty good thing. Like, I don't see why again, I'm ignorant to it, so please correct me in the comments, but like, I don't think there should be a schism between these two churches or these like two church leaders that last for hundreds of years. I can just feel like you guys should have been able to resolve that and talk to each other within like maybe a decade or two, like, within that decade, like maybe like 5 years realistically. Like, why are you guys like, oh man, we can't even resolve this with them, even though, I don't know, like Christianity itself is supposed to be, it feels like a really like inviting, like at least from my perspective, being a Christian myself, like it feels like something you should be able to, like, as a Christian, you should be able to speak with any and everyone. If a freaking atheist comes up and I'm just trying to have a regular conversation with him. There shouldn't be any problems. I should be able to listen to what he's saying, hear him out, and fully comprehend it and give my honest opinion back on it, and then maybe tell him about how I feel about, Christianity, and, talk to him. If he listens, he listens. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I respect it. I move on to the next person, and that's how it should be. No animosity or anything goes in there. These two are already one step above that. They're already believing in Christianity. They're already like 90% of the way there. There's just a few disagreements. Don't cause a schism over it. Just keep talking to each other through it, and eventually you'll come to the other side on with some better understanding for both people.
Church doesn't consider Protestant churches to be churches, saying it is nevertheless difficult to see how the title of church could possibly be attributed to them, seeing that they do not accept the theological notion of the church in the Catholic sense, and that they lack elements considered essential to the Catholic Church. That being said, it is then of course notable that the Catholic Church does not have such qualms with the Orthodox. In 1995, Pope John Paul II issued an encyclical Orientale Lumen, which was very focused on seeking union of the Orthodox and Catholics, but also called the Orthodox churches Orthodox churches. On August 6, 2000, Dominus Iesus, a declaration by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, stated, "Therefore there exists a single Church of Christ, which subsists in the Catholic Church, governed by the successor of Peter and by the bishops in communion with him. The churches which, while not existing in perfect communion with the Catholic Church, remain united to her by means of the closest bonds, that is, by apostolic succession and a valid Eucharist, are true particular churches." This statement affirms the Orthodox churches as true churches. However, it is important to note that the Catholic Church doesn't view the schism as over either. The Catholic Answers website says, while Eastern Orthodox Christians have much in common with Catholics, they're still in schism. They've split off from the legitimate authority of the Pope and therefore aren't Catholics. Today, the Catholic view is that the holy orders of the Orthodox Church, that is, their ordinations, are valid. Additionally, as stated, their Eucharist is also viewed as valid. If a Catholic was in a place where their only option was to receive the Eucharist at an Orthodox church, this is acceptable from the Catholic side. However, from the Orthodox side, Catholics are not permitted to take communion at their churches. Likewise, the Catholic Church accepts that an Orthodox layperson could take the Eucharist at their church, but the Orthodox Church forbids its members from doing so. The Catholic Answers...
Can someone in the comments explain to me what exactly the Eucharist is and like the history behind that? It seems really cool, and I don't want to like stop this video just to do a bunch of research on it. And also the engagement is incredible, guys. So yeah, if someone could just tell me exactly what the Eucharist is and all that is about, that would be really great. I want to know about it.
Ministry says on their website, if you happen to be at an Orthodox liturgy on a Sunday or holy day, this does fulfill your obligation, even if you are not able to receive Holy Communion. In summary, from the Catholic perspective, they are very close to the Orthodox. The Catholic Answers website says both have valid holy orders and apostolic succession through the episcopacy, both celebrate the same sacraments, both believe almost exactly the same theology, and both proclaim the same faith in Christ.
Yeah.
How Orthodox view Catholics.
So why is there the disagreements, guys? Let's get past all the other stuff. Look how much you guys have in common.
Because of the more complex Orthodox response to this question, we'll spend a bit longer answering it. Here's what one Orthodox congregation, St. John the Evangelist Orthodox Church in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, says. The differences between our churches are far more numerous from an Orthodox perspective than they are from a Catholic perspective. Oh. The Orthodox Church views itself as the true one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church and does not include the Catholic Church as being part of this true church. The Orthodox Church in America website says, it is the fervent prayer of the Orthodox Church that all people, Roman Catholic, unchurched, whatever, might someday be united to the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church of Christ. Until that becomes a reality, we continue to pray for unity while at the same time rejecting any notion that Orthodox Christianity is just one of many branches or expressions of Christianity.
Oh, wow.
To believe this would be to reject our understanding of Orthodoxy as the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. St. John the Evangelist Orthodox Church lists misconceptions about the Eastern Orthodox Church, and one of the misconceptions Christians is that, quote, the Orthodox Church is an offshoot of the Roman Catholic Church. Here's what they have to say. This second misconception usually stems from ignorance of church history, as it implies Roman Catholicism precedes Orthodoxy. Not only that, but it also implies the Orthodox Church is nothing more than a protest movement against Roman Catholicism. Neither of these implications are historically accurate. For the first 1,000 years...
Okay. I can see their point there. They're like saying, no, we're not like an offshoot of, Catholicism. We didn't like see what Catholics were doing. It was like, no, you should be doing it this way. We're going to do our own thing here because of that. Like, no, they're saying that we did not just see what they were doing and say, yo, here's some criticisms and this is a better way to do it. They're saying we always had our own thing. We were the one church. They're saying they're the one church, but I'm saying we're the one church here. So, I understand it. They don't want to be like, oh yeah, you guys, you're just ignorant on the history. I was ignorant on the history, guys. I probably would have been one of those people that was like, oh yeah, maybe the Catholics started first, and maybe they just saw they, wanted to be more spiritual with it or something, But they're talking to me. They're proving me wrong here.
Years of Christianity, only one church existed, and it was one holy, Catholic, and apostolic, per the Nicene Creed. The early church was conciliar, relying on ecumenical councils to distinguish doctrine from heresy. Collegial, all bishops and all patriarchates of the church possessed equal authority. In the early church, there were 5 major patriarchates: Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria, Rome, and Constantinople. Because of his connection to both Saints Peter and Paul, the Patriarch of Rome received the title of primus inter pares, first among equals. However, he possessed no more authority than any of the others. In fact, a bishop with a diocese the size of Beaufort, Wyoming, had the same authority as a bishop with a diocese the size of Texas. When Rome ceased being Catholic, over several hundred years, the Greek East and Latin West drifted apart. This ultimately resulted in the Great Schism of AD 1054. Some 4 years prior to that official break, the Orthodox began to remove the Roman Patriarch's name from the diptychs, prayers for Orthodox bishops. This indicates that whatever the Roman Patriarchate had become, it was no longer regarded as what the other patriarchates remained. It had departed from orthodoxy, no longer being conciliar and collegial in some way. In AD 1054, the Pope excommunicated the Patriarch of Constantinople in one last effort to assert authority over other patriarchates. Of course, all the other patriarchs ignored this, as the Pope had no such authority. Therefore, to distinguish themselves from the radical changes being implemented by the newly dubbed Roman Catholic Church, a religion that now had only one head and had begun having its own innovative councils, the other patriarchs adopted the term Orthodox from the Church's own tradition. For the Orthodox, Roman Catholics are indeed the first Protestants. Orthodox.
So the Orthodox are saying like, no. It was the other way around. We were all Orthodox, and then Catholics decided to make their own thing, and they are like a knockoff of us. Not knockoff. I don't want to offend anyone in the comments here, but like they started from us, not the other way around. We didn't see what they were doing and change up. They saw what we were doing. They decided to do the change ups. They're the ones who went too far with it. And this is all from the Orthodox perspective, as far as what I have just listened to and learned. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. They're like, we were all one, and, we were all considered under the Orthodoxy, and then you decided to split off and become Roman Catholic. And then we decided, we have to make sure we're staying known. We are Orthodox. We follow things in the Orthodoxy way. Is it orthodoxical? I don't know. I feel like I just made up a word there. Yeah, we do these things in our orthodoxical way. If that is a word, please thank me in the comments. Say you are the greatest wordsmith on YouTube. And yeah, this is interesting here. They're really claiming the opposite.
Churches may respect the holy orders, that is, the ordination of Catholics. For example, in the Orthodox Church in America, the practice is to do vesting, not reordination. Most Orthodox churches will accept into membership without baptism those who were baptized as Catholics. All Saints Greek Orthodox Church in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania says, for example, baptized Christians are generally received through the sacrament of chrismation. In general, the Orthodox Church does not baptize a Christian who has received baptism in a mainline Protestant or the Roman Catholic Church. The criterion is that the baptism was done in the name of the Trinity, along with proof, i.e. a certificate or parental verification. This is not universally the case, however. St. John's Orthodox Church in Colchester, England website says, according to the strict view, any Roman Catholic or Protestant who wishes to join the Orthodox Church must be received by baptism, for they are considered not to have been baptized. This is the practice on Mount Athos in Greece, on Cyprus, and in other parts of the Orthodox world, especially in Serbia. This is not rebaptism, which is specifically rejected in the Nicene Creed. Rebaptism could only take place when Orthodox Church baptism had already occurred, which is utterly contrary to our faith. Orthodox churches are not all in agreement on the...
So they're saying, well, some of them are saying, the ones in America, I guess, are saying, hey, we can't rebaptize you. We can't baptize you if you've already been baptized by like a Protestant or Catholic church, which, wait, I think I'm Protestant. So like, I grew up in a Baptist church. So I was baptized there. I don't think in America I can do this, but apparently if I go to Europe, they'll straight up, actually baptize me in their name if I wanted to do it. If I wanted to be Orthodox Christian, if I wanted to be like an Eastern Orthodox Christian, all I need to do is go over there. They'll baptize me in their cult, their religion for the first time, in the Orthodox view. Because apparently that's not getting rebaptized, because to be rebaptized, I would have to already been baptized within the Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox or Orthodox religion. But I wasn't. As I remember in the last, what was like 2 videos ago, apparently I'm Protestant because I grew up Baptist. It was a non-denominational church, which apparently is just Baptist, which apparently is just Protestant. So I didn't know I was this deep already, but apparently I'm deeper in than I already knew.
The validity of the Catholic Eucharist. The Orthodox Church in America says, for example, many Orthodox Christians do view the Roman Catholic Eucharist as the body and blood of Christ. Others today would not subscribe to this. The answer is linked to whether one believes that Roman Catholicism is with grace or devoid of grace. However, Orthodox churches do not believe that their members should take the Eucharist in Catholic churches. The Orthodox Church in America says Orthodox Christians are not permitted to receive communion in non-Orthodox communities, including the Roman Catholic. To do so would imply a unity that in fact does not yet exist. Also, it implies that we are united to the faith community from which we receive the Eucharist. In brief, while Roman Catholicism sees Orthodoxy as a sister church, Orthodoxy sees herself as the fullness of the church, not the other half of the church, as implied in the notion of a sister church. The Orthodox Church in America also says Orthodox Christianity in general would view certain aspects of Roman Catholic teaching as heretical. The Filioque is the classic example of this. Orthodox Christianity also rejects such teachings as the Immaculate Conception, purgatory, and other uniquely Roman Catholic doctrines. I mentioned earlier...
I kind of thought everyone believed in Immaculate Conception. Like Jesus was the son of Mary, and Mary, had Jesus through Immaculate Conception. I thought that was something that everyone believed in if you're a Christian. I guess not. I mean, did I read that wrong or did I hear that wrong? Orthodox Christianity also rejects such teachings as the Immaculate Conception, purgatory, which I'll be honest, growing up, I didn't really learn about purgatory too much. Like, I think I may have heard of it, but like in my church growing up, they didn't really say anything about purgatory. It was really either heaven or hell. Yeah, I mean, and also I don't know what the Filioque is. If someone can, if someone can actually help me out with that one in the comments, I don't know what this is.
Purgatory and other uniquely Roman Catholic doctrines. I mentioned earlier that another term for the Catholic Church is the Roman Catholic Church. Many Catholics don't like this, as they claim that only one of the rites of their church should be called Roman, while the Eastern Catholic churches should not be. However, it's common for Orthodox churches to refuse to call the church simply the Catholic Church. The Orthodox Church in America website says, "Those united with the Pope of Rome are properly called Roman Catholics, not Catholics." What do Orthodox churches think about whether Catholics will be saved? Like on other issues, there are two views on this issue. The Bulgarian Orthodox Church stated in 2016, when reunification proposals suggested Orthodox and Catholics not proselytizing each other, "The Roman Catholic Church has fallen away from the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church and is a heretical church by virtue of the heretical dogmas adopted in it. Let us, however, remember the words of St. Cyprian of Carthage, that heretics will never turn to the church if we ourselves strengthen them in the conviction that they also have a church and sacraments. And in general, how is it possible to reconcile the ban on proselytism with the 1,000-year-old apostolic and patristic tradition, which categorically considered heretics to be outside the ship of the church and therefore outside of salvation, and therefore even more in need of our missionary service among them? There has been a large body of historical teaching within Orthodox churches that Catholics do not possess salvation. However, today this teaching is not as universal as it once was, and especially English-speaking Orthodox churches in the West will rarely hold to it. Metropolitan Filaret, the first hierarch of the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia, wrote in an article, "Will the Heterodox Be Saved?" the following: "The Holy Orthodox Church is the repository of the divinely revealed truth in all its fullness and fidelity to apostolic tradition. Hence, he who leaves the church, who intentionally and consciously falls away from it, joins the ranks of its opponents and becomes a renegade as regards apostolic tradition. The church dreadfully anathematized such renegades in accordance with the words of the Savior himself, Matthew 18:17, and of the Apostle Paul, Galatians 1:8-9, threatening them with eternal damnation and calling them to return to the Orthodox fold. It is self-evident, however, that sincere Christians who are Roman Catholics or Lutherans or members of other non-Orthodox confessions cannot be termed renegades or heretics, i.e. those who knowingly pervert the truth. They have been born and raised and are living according to the creed which they have inherited, just as do the majority of you who are Orthodox. In their lives there has not been a moment of personal and conscious renunciation of orthodoxy. The Lord, who will have all men to be saved, 1 Timothy 2:4, and who enlightens every man born into the world, John 1:43, undoubtedly is leading them also towards salvation in his own way." The Orthodox Church in America website says it is the common teaching of the Orthodox Christian.
Okay, so that guy from Russia is pretty much saying that, like, hey, as long as you don't, like, outwardly say, like, outwardly go against the Orthodox teachings, if you are another Christian group and you just so happen to be born in it, you learn it, you're a good person at the end of the day, and you're not like actively against our teachings, then there is still salvation available for you outside of the Orthodox Christian Church. Now, is this person going to say the exact opposite? That's what we're about to find out.
Christian tradition that the church has no monopoly on grace and truth and love. The church teaches on the contrary that God is the sovereign Lord who saves those whom he wills. The church believes as well that salvation depends upon the actual life of the person, and God alone is capable of judging, since he alone knows the secrets of each mind and heart. Only God is capable of judging how well a man lives according to the measure of grace, faith, understanding, and strength given to him. Every man is judged by God alone according to the actual truth and love in his life. This goes for Orthodox and non-Orthodox alike. And although the Orthodox confess that the fullness of truth and love is found in the life of the church, nominal church membership or formal assent to some doctrines does not at all guarantee salvation. Here's a key thing to realize that can condense much of...
Hold on. What did that say? Nominal church membership or formal... So it's not... Okay. So they're saying that, like, I guess he's kind of saying the same thing, but also adding in that just because you are part of the Orthodox Church don't mean that you are going to get salvation. Like, just because you go to the church every day and you go to the church sometimes, or you believe in it, but you do some of the doctrines, but not all of them, doesn't guarantee that you're about to get saved. Like, just like how the other people can be saved without us, some of y'all, even with us, can't be saved. That makes sense.
Doctrines does not at all
feels
guarantee
consistent.
salvation. Here's a key thing to realize that can condense much of what was already said. If you ask Catholics how far they are from Orthodox, you are very likely to hear them claim that they are very similar, nearly identical, or even that they are the same church, just currently with a break in communion. If you ask...
Now, this is where I would have stood. At the beginning of the video, I completely stood on these groups are very similar, nearly identical. They just have some, a little bit of a communication issue. Now, at the end of the video, I'm starting to see Orthodox, like, you are more likely, the Catholics are more likely to be the ones that say, hey, we're cool. You can do the things at an Orthodox church. Orthodox churches seem a lot more strict on this point. They're hitting it home like, no, we are completely different. Don't do communion there. Don't go around telling people that we're like the same, because we're not. We don't really mess with you guys like that. You're cool, but like at the end of the day, like we were here first, and you guys, kind of went overboard and claiming to be different than us. And now people think that we are the ones copying you, when in real life, we were here first. This is just my perspective on it. Maybe that's not proper. Anyone in the comments obviously can feel free to correct me, but let's see what he's going to say right now.
Orthodox, you're much more likely to hear that the differences are very great. Archpriest Father Josiah Trenum gave a talk on an Orthodox perspective on Roman Catholicism, which now has nearly 300,000 views on YouTube. In it, he said, every one of the sacraments of the Church have been altered significantly by the Roman Catholic Church, mostly since the Great Schism. St. John the Evangelist Orthodox Church says, we may both have liturgical worship, clergy, sacraments, apostolic succession, and intercessory prayer to saints. However, a deeper look at our faiths showed just how dissimilar they really are. We are so different, in fact, that our churches are not in communion and haven't been for nearly 1,000 years now. Here's how the St. Paul Antiochian Orthodox Church in Emmaus, Pennsylvania puts it. What is necessary for unity between Rome and the Orthodox churches? Orthodox Christians and Roman Catholics see the answer to this question quite differently. From the Orthodox point of view, Roman Catholics would be expected to return to the Orthodox faith that the Church of Rome professed during the period before it broke from Orthodoxy in roughly the 11th century, the Great Schism. By contrast, Rome's primary expectation of the Orthodox is that they would accept the sovereignty of the Pope over all their churches. Orthodox Christians cannot accept that condition, however, as they would understand it to mean an abandonment of the faith that they had received from the apostles. From Orthodoxy's point of view, it is Rome who has left the tradition of the apostles and introduced new teachings such as papal infallibility, purgatory, and the Immaculate Conception, not to mention unilaterally altering the Nicene Creed to add the word filioque and the Son to the phrase concerning the procession of the Holy Spirit, a term that was not in the original version of the Creed agreed upon by Rome with the Eastern churches. Make no mistake, Orthodox Christians genuinely desire union with Roman Catholics, but it is the same union that they desire with all Christians, and indeed with all human beings. Union in the Orthodox Christian faith, given by Christ once for all to the apostles. There is much we have in common and can affirm together, but there are also significant differences that continue to make unity not yet possible. In discussing the opinions of Orthodox toward Catholics, Father Gregory Jensen of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church USA has written, there is to be sure a pervasive anti-Catholic mentality among Orthodox Christians. Denying this is pointless and foolish, and I have called Orthodox Christians on it both publicly and privately. That said, I don't think that Orthodox anti-Catholicism is institutional. While individual Orthodox Christians, laity and clergy, are guilty of this sin, it is not the Orthodox Church as such which is anti-Catholic, any more than the Catholic Church as such is responsible for, say, the sacking of Constantinople, to pull an Orthodox favorite. Just like in Catholicism, there is a spectrum in Orthodoxy of acceptance of the other side. However, it must be said that the voices in opposition to broad-scale ecumenism are louder and more numerous on the Orthodox side than the Catholic side. In this video, I have touched very little on some of the biggest causes of division between Orthodoxy and Catholicism that will still come up today, things like the filioque and the supremacy and infallibility of the Pope, not to mention the overall distaste that many Orthodox churches have for the Eastern Catholic churches. Those are, of course, key things to understand if you want to know what divided these churches and what may still be impeding them unifying despite there being such a call for it, especially from the Catholic side. I'll discuss those more in a future video. Don't forget to go over to Useful Charts channel and watch Matt's video there on Christian denominations.
Shout outs to this guy. I actually like this video. This is Ready to Harvest. Again, guys, great video. At the end of the day, it does feel like, I guess what he was saying and just what I gathered from what I watched there, the Orthodox Church seems a little bit more like, I guess they're a little bit more on the side of we're not going to be joining or coming together until you guys change these perspectives that you have, while the Catholic Church is pretty much, it feels like they're more on the side of we can be unified, um, but without being like necessarily the same. You can be a branch of ours, or we can be part of the same branch, and they're saying no, we're not a branch, we're not an offshoot. We're either going to be the same or we're not going to be together as one. And it's a tricky thing because personally I feel like you guys should strive to be unified. And you know as far as the churches go, it feels like everyone should be striving to unify, especially all the Christian churches. you know Shoot, I would even go so far as to say, have we ever tried unifying all the like all the churches that are, what do they say, monotheistic? Like, can we? I guess that's a little bit too far. At least like all the Abrahamic religions, can we unify those? But I guess you got to start off small. Let's unify Christianity and you know Judaism, and let's unify Christianity with Islam. You never know. Maybe I'm just saying a lot of extra stuff here, but you know, it's all God at the end of the day. We're all trying to get to the same heaven, as I always say in these videos, but what do I know? I'm no theologist, I'm no religious expert. I'm just a guy on YouTube who wanted to know more about his religion, but also learn about others as well. I'm just a guy who likes to learn stuff. So, guys, yeah, if you want to learn more about me and more about what I'm doing here, and just go follow me on this journey as I educate myself on all these different religious topics, please remember, like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.